This is Roy with Kurt here at MKG Detroit, and today we're going to show you how to deal with that fighter who leaves his hand out in front of your face. You may have seen my episode with Ben Langman where he uses his lead hand to distract you a lot. That's one thing, but we also see people just kind of leaving it out there hanging in space. A lot of the times where you see this is me as the southpaw, I've managed to hit the outside position with the feet, which we talked about in countering the southpaw's left cross. And he'll often kind of just hold his arm here like this. So the problem is, Kurt feels like he can't jab straight because there's something there. He feels like he can't hit around it because there's just too much linear distance to cover, right? I cut off the angle with very little motion, and it gets very frustrating. And so I'm going to show you some ways to deal with that.
Okay, so one of the ways we discussed is if his hand is just sort of staying here, it's not doing a lot to manipulate my arm, it's just checking and hanging out here, is a cross parry. Now, some wisdom would suggest that cross parrying isn't always the best idea because it can leave you open for that rear hand, and that's true. So, as something of a solution to that, the idea is to not just parry in an attempt to hit here or an attempt to simply dislodge and hope for the best. So we're going to move this direction and immediately fill the line in this direction. So it's 1 and 2. It's sort of an inside parry and backhand motion. You can see this as a hammer. This could be a forearm, especially if we're closing the line. It could be any sort of shape, it doesn't matter. So from this position, 1 and 2, and this follows right behind, right? So 1 and 2 and 3. Here, I can't seem to get it around, so we go 1, 2, 3, that. I don't want to just open up like this. I'm going to go from my cover position to his arm and across just as quickly, if not quicker. So 1 and 2 and 3 behind it. So again, 1, 2, 3. Okay?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
So one thing that you do have to be careful of is that left hand, right? So if Kurt wants to follow up with a heavy secondary shot, he's going to get his head offline when he throws his own power shot. You see how even if I wanted to throw, he's not where I was. So again. See, so when he's following up with his follow-up strikes, he's getting offline. The key is to not be in front of that power shots line, whether you're going to the outside or the inside, or just putting up the barrier to cut it off. With the MMA gloves on, sometimes the barrier is a little less safe than with the 16-ounce gloves. So if you're going to go straight in, be a little careful or be first.
When we're going here like this, if this meets its mark and it hits him, that's great, okay? It's a successful shot. But maybe it doesn't get there in time because he's already letting that hand fly, okay? And perhaps this is even some sort of baiting thing. But whether this hits him or it hits this, either way we're moving in the same kind of downward or across backhand angular position. So whether it, again, is a shot to his face or is a way to respond in some educated manner to this arm, that's good. And from here, we're just, again, following up according to what your training looks like. So from this position, we could see the first one as landing, stepping offline and hitting. And if we want to mix it up, we can deal with that shot along the way, or again, whatever your follow-up looks like.
If you want to go towards your left, if you're really afraid of that rear cross, is if we're doing the same idea, so he's got his hand stuck out. As I do the inside parry, I'm going to slide and step into my circle step. And then I can either grab on, which would be really cool, but if I can't get a hold of it, when I throw my hook, I can cut down with this arm if it's still there, but chances are he's going to move it back to some kind of guard position, but probably not exactly where you're going to hit him. So again, so if he's here, instead of going here in this way, I can go the other way and just kind of draw his hand out by putting my hand out, and then out to the side into that slide and step left hook. So again, from this side, so I'm putting my hand out to draw it out, right? This is typically done here, right? And then I'm going to slide and step as I step out away from that left cross. And if he turns to me, I got this stiff barrier here, either forearm or hand, to keep him from turning. And then I follow up into the left hook and my follow-up strikes. I I think I'm gonna call this episode "Get That Shit Out of Here," because that's exactly what it is, right? He's throwing something up that's confusing. It's not strictly speaking bad technique if he knows how to apply it, right? Yeah, Kurt, as an educated FMA specialist, he has a lot more options with that lead hand outstretched than, quite frankly, a lot of classical MMA fighters do. They just kind of got it there because they know it's annoying. You can treat it with a little less respect than maybe it might otherwise deserve, but you gotta have the right mentality. You gotta just say, hit him, right? That's just a present, right? If you have that aggressive mentality, that's just a present. I'm gonna smash his ulna. I'm gonna punch his hand, which means he has nothing to defend the left kick, right? Left leg kick, he might be able to get his leg up, but it's hard to get that while your hand's being punched. Right? I mean, if you can use that against him as long as you have the aggressive mentality and you take control of the situation rather than being intimidated and let him controlling the range of distance, which is essentially what that tool is used to do in the MMA context. This is Roy with Kurt here in MKG Detroit. Hope you found that lesson useful. Keep your chin down, elevate your striking.